Likkutei Torah by Midbar, page Yud Gimel, all the way at the bottom of the page. Okay, 4 lines from the end of the page. The last thing that Rabbi was explaining, after he explained that mitzvahs are the limbs and Torah is the blood. So then he starts explaining that there's a contradiction of 2 psukim. Okay, one pasuk says Yiros Hashem Kadeshev, the Holy One bless Hashem, fears Hashem, and another pasuk says Yirmi Hashem Kol Haaretz, that the whole earth fears Hashem. So he explained there's Hashem's perspective, our perspective. Hashem's perspective is He exists, we don't. Our perspective is we exist, we need to think about His existence. And he says, so what's the ultimate goal? That the ultimate goal is that we down here should realize Hashem's perspective. And he says, this higher level of fear, which is Hashem's perspective, that comes, well, how do we reach such a level? Through learning Torah. It says in the Mishnah, it says if there's no fear, there's no chachma. If there's no chachma, there's no fear. So what does it mean? Obviously there's different levels of chachma, different levels of fear. But the higher level is im ein chachma. If you don't have the level of Torah, which is chachma, then you don't come to the higher level. Zeh yiras Hashem kadeshev. Shebchin ezer yiras onim shechayidei aysheketchan b'mitzveisav. V'zeh vayitzavenu liyiras Hashem dafka. Therefore, mitzvahs are made to have the level of fear. What's the meaning of fear? Or is bittul. Bittul means, see, in Ava, you're not going to have that perspective of He exists and we don't. Because that's not bittul. Ava is not bittul. Yira is bittul. So when somebody has a level of bittul, in the highest of levels, then they come to the realization that the only thing that exists is Hashem and nothing else. In next page. When was this ultimate level of awe of Hashem, of fear of Hashem, was by Matan Torah. Like it says, the Jews were like popped out, Hashem was popped out of the body. Al-Har Sinai Bekelos of Rock, called Dibur Parchan Ishmason, and every Dibur that Hashem said, the Neshama is popped out of the body, until Chazal say, Shepos Kazu Masam. At the time of Matan Torah, the level of evil that the Chet Eitzadas created in the world ceased to exist. Like it says, they got free from the angel of death and Chet HaEgel. Until the Chet of the Egel. We learned there was this death and all the evil came into the world of Eitzadas. Matan Torah undid that, and 40 days later they made the Egel, which we did it.
That was all planned.
All planned. It's all in the blueprints. What?
Doesn't it explain that we come to the Yiras Hashem Asher through Asher Kadeshev mitzvahs?
So when you do mitzvahs and the bittul of mitzvahs and the bittul of learning Torah, then you come to that level of realization that the only thing that exists is Hashem.
Is he equating Torah and mitzvahs?
Not really. He's explaining primarily through Torah.
But then
Also he mentions through mitzvahs, yeah. Okay, in Hutzrach Lavidaseinu mat mat. Therefore, our avodah has to be little by little, like the pasuk says, ma'at ma'at agashenu. The pasuk, when he speaks about the Jews coming into Egypt and getting driven out of Eretz Yisrael and the 7 nations, so it says, I'll drive them out a little by little. Why? Because Rashi explains, if Hashem's going to drive out all the goyim at one time, all the animals are going to take over. So Hashem got chased out the nation, mat. In Avedas Hashem, it also means little by little, or yidel by yidel, like they say. One of the questions Al Rebbe asked at the beginning of the Maamar, what did Matan Torah accomplish if the Ovis already had Matan Torah? So he says, now we can understand the advantage of Matan Torah over the Ovis. Why? Agam ki Ovis gam kin kimo Torah. Even though the Ovis kept Torah. Like it said by Avram Vayishma Mishmarti, Shmitz Meres Mitzvah Seshli Nitna Dayin L'Hoy Ravas Begil Rava Osam Shas Matan Torah. Okay, why? Because by Avram Avinu, yes, they kept Torah, but it wasn't revealed yet in Gashmis. It wasn't revealed yet in the world.
It didn't permit.
Huh?
It did not permit.
Correct. And then the commandments came, don't kill, don't, all that stuff. Yom shachayis gilid etzanis baruch lemata afil ben yonim elu b'shmiras leisasa. Okay? What it means is like this. Matan Torah came down not only into Gashmistic world, but Matan Torah came into things that are normally not done. You don't kill, you don't steal, you don't commit adultery. I mean, these are things which are normally not done. And yet, Matan Torah, what's in the top 10 Commandments? These simple things that Jews had to keep anyway before. Because what did Matan Torah accomplish? Not only did Hashem come into Gashmistic physical things, He even came into physical things that are anti-Jewish, so to speak, or anti-human.
Excuse me, Rabbi, could you digress on this a little bit? So before Matan Torah, when He said do not kill, it meant what?
Don't kill.
And then after Matan Torah, when He said do not kill.
He's going to explain now what it means after Matan Torah. He's going to say right now what Likkutei means after Matan Torah. Because if they were not allowed to kill before, they're not allowed to kill now. So what did Matan Torah do to that mitzvah of not killing? No. He says like this. You're not allowed to kill a person, right? Murder, or suicide for that matter. Because God made evil opposite of Kedusha, Adam B'lial, who Yetzirah neged Adam de Kedusha. So Hashem created the Yetzirah, and Hashem created Nefshulikis, the Yetzirah. One opposite the next. Yisrael Olu b'machshava. Therefore, Yidden come from a lofty. He'll explain. We'll give it a little bit of time. Lochein en garmen aidei chatoim b'ma'aseh dibur u'machshava b'chinas dam. Shvichas dam v'chayis adam de kedusha b'adam de klipa. When a Jew sins, they take the chayis of kedusha, which a Jew has. They're holy, and they bring it in to the evil. They bring it into evil. One second. Now there's a b'shar avedas. Same thing in all other avedas. Sin of meaning they shouldn't have a sustenance of waste to external levels. L'gneivu by they shmiras v'zir mitzviyas supnias, not to be a bluffer and a faker. And so he says like this. There is a concept of murder in a spiritual sense. When you do any aveda, you're basically taking the kedusha, killing it, and giving that blood to evil. That's what you do anytime you do an aveda. V'inei b'shas matan Torah adiber ba'atzmi geizer v'emer le'sirtzach. Meaning like this: in the 10 Commandments, le'sirtzach. The Mefarshim will say this in Chumash, in the Daseres and Dibros. Le'sirtzach means you should not kill. Also, le'sirtzach is future tense. You will not kill in the future. It means a commandment, le'sirtzach, don't kill, or rather, don't murder. And it also means you will not murder in the future. What does that mean? Hashem says you should never allow this to happen in the future. Meaning, because again, commandment and future tense are both the same thing. Lo sirtzach means do not murder, and it means you will not murder. Yohavtas Hashem Elokecha, the Maggid says, it means you should love Hashem. You should. And then the Maggid asks, how can you command somebody on an emotion? And what's the Maggid's answer? Yohavta means you will love. But after we sin, that he needs our that we start speaking Torah, mamshich and ma'at mitzeno elyon. We start bringing down a little bit of Kedusha to revive the dead. In other words, when a person sins, like Dr. Rabbi says in Tanya, you take the king's face and you dump it into manure. That's what the Zohar says. You take and you put it in manure when a person sins. So what happens basically when a person sins? They take the Kedusha, the Nefesh Elokis, the Adam Elyon, the God from the throne, and you kill it and you bring it into evil. So now the Kedusha is dead, so to speak. That's why an Aveda is spiritual death, not only of the person, but of the person's Kedusha, and Kedusha at large. You take Hashem's Kedusha, and He gave it that free choice. We could take Him and control Him. Either we schlep Him into the manure, or we elevate Him, right, to bring up Kedusha to a higher level. So how do we revive the dead? So then you need learning Torah little by little. That's the resurrection of the dead like it was by Matan Torah. One second, he's still not there. And then he said, through that, sins perish from the earth. Because what happens? Sins is the level of death. When you revive the sin, you do tshuva, you do Torah mitzvahs, so then you revive the sin. You revive the Kedusha that you killed. That's what Matan Torah accomplished in Leisirtzach. Before Matan Torah, you did a terrible act. You did something you're not supposed to do. No. The only mitzvah any of them did that affected Gashmis was Avram Avinu's bris milah, because he was commanded to do it, and therefore when they had to swear, Eliezer had to hold on to his bris. That was the only object of Kedusha. But the Gashmis didn't become holy.
So how did the sheep become spotless and they had spots and this and that?
That was not Kedusha in Gashmis. Gashmis is the thing.
It affected the Gashmis?
No, not in the level that Kedusha came down to Gashmis. The sticks weren't holy.
But it affected something happening.
If somebody hit somebody else, it'll affect Gashmis. You say, ow. That doesn't mean it's Kedusha. Yitzchak digging wells was a certain Aveda that we do. But the wells didn't become holy. The greatest wonder of all is that Har Sinai didn't become holy. That's an interesting concept. The place of the Beis HaMikdash, even though there's no Beis HaMikdash, the place is holy. Right? Har Sinai, which was a greater revelation than the Beis HaMikdash. Now the Rebbe says in Tanya, Me'ein zayir loss of love, Me'ein zahoyer b'matan Torah. The Gilui of Mashiach, which is the ultimate Gilui, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, Me'ein zeh, in Hagah, Me'ein, a little bit of this was by Matan Torah. The greatest revelation of godliness that ever existed until Bias Mashiach is Matan Torah. Like it says in Chassidus, Matan Torah is not going to happen again.
So why did it leave?
1 minute. So yet, when the Shekhinah was on the mountain, you're not allowed to go, right? You're not allowed to touch the mountain. All of a sudden, the Shekhinah, Lehei alu bahar, they can go up to the mountain, not Kedusha anymore. That's a wondrous concept.
What's the reason?
The Mishkan was a great revelation of Kedusha, yeah? The second the Mishkan moved to another place, that place was a place like anybody else. Because that did not permeate the Gashmis of the world where it's not relevant to Torah mitzvahs.
Why is that?
Ask him.
No, but why didn't it permeate, especially on Mount?
I told you because it didn't happen until the first Beis HaMikdash.
Why is it that the mountain didn't come to this?
Because that level of Matan Torah didn't do it. That's why the Rebbe explains, we learned, but the Rebbe says in the Maamar, but so from the previous Rebbeim also. The Mishkan, we learned that Maamar, the Mishkan was made out of goat skins, trees, the boards, yeah, and the karka of the Mishkan. So there was inanimate at the bottom, plant, the boards, and animal on top. Yes? The Beis HaMikdash was made out of stone. So it says, what's the difference? The Mishkan's Kedusha was only able to permeate the boards, the wood. The earth itself didn't become holy. The Beis Hamikdash was built out of stone. The Kedusha was so great, it permeated even the inanimate. The Kedusha of the Mishkan, not the floor, because the floor, when they moved, it wasn't. The Mishkan's holiness was only able to permeate goat skins, the coverings, and the boards. Semeach and Chai. Because it wasn't that level of Kedusha yet until Hashem's permanent home. That's why until the Beis Hamikdash was built, any guy who's the Bamis were allowed. Any guy could build in his backyard an altar and bring a carbon.
And Har Sinai?
Har Sinai didn't become Kedusha. Afterwards.
It was stones.
Huh?
Har Sinai is stones. Just
Yeah.
like the stones of Abraham.
But it didn't permeate. It's like the floor of the Mishkan, no? It wasn't that level.
The level of Kedusha in Beit HaMikdash was higher than the level of Kedusha in Har Sinai?
Only in the respect that it permeated more of Gashmias. It didn't actually, it wasn't the same level of Kedusha.
It's higher, the Beis Hamikdash was higher.
No. But there was a different level of Kedusha that permeated even the Gashmiastic place.
And we have them in Mishkan somewhere, you see them?
Mishkan is hidden. The 5 things from the Beis Hamikdash were hidden.
And when Mashiach comes,
Got them all back.
But the Mishkan are all the
What?
The Mishkan and everything is
Buried.
exists. Nothing has happened to it. Right?
Ma'aseh Moshe Nitzchim, whatever Moshe Rabbeinu made was eternal, but they buried him.
But they're
The Aron and all that is buried. Nobody knows where it is. They'll never find it because it's not meant to be found.
But they exist.
Yeah. Okay, commercial cost. Okay, v'hinei ter shebeksav. Ter shebal ksav is called Eitz Chaim hilamachzikim ba, and ter shebal peh is called bezayir. Ilon de tevara mafrid na tev minara. In the what's it called? In the there's Eitz Chaim, and we say by ter Eitz Chaim hilamachzikim ba. Then you have Eitz das tevara. When Hashem created the world, He made Eitz Chaim, right? And He made Eitz Das. But Eitz Das is Tevera, meaning Shebei Mafrid Natev Minara, where you separate the good from the bad. Meaning like this. How do you mean, when you learn Torah, how do you mean separating the good from the bad? When you learn in Allah or Gemara, these animals are kosher. This animal is treif, whatever it is. You create a separation. In other words, you elevate the Gashmiistic thing, and all the things get destroyed. Like wax melting in fire. That means all evil gets separated. Until Mashiach comes. And by Yomahu Yi Hashem Echad U'Shmei Echad, there will be Echad be'Echad. Like the Gemara says, then when Mashiach comes, the same. Now Hashem's name is written Yud Kei Vav Kei, but we don't pronounce it Yud Kei Vav Kei. We pronounce it Aleph Daled Nun Yud. But L'Asad Lavei Hashem Echad U'Shmei Echad Kshem Shani Nichtev Kach Ani Nikra. The way it's written, we're going to pronounce it not like Ados, but we're going to pronounce it like Yud Kei Vav Kei. And that's mitzvah sriya calls churcha. Kedarach shabalir is the way you come to see, is the way you become to be seen. Pirshem shelamata kula kamei kloi choshev kachem umata l'mayla. Which means, what does it mean in Beis Hamikdash? The way you come to be seen, that's the way you're seen. And the way you come to be seen, that's the way you are seen. That's the way you see it. It means, in the Beis Hamikdash, the gilui is, we see things the way Hashem sees things. That means Just like his perspective is he exists and we don't, when you come to the base of English, that's what the perspective you get. And that's what Matan Torah accomplished. Before Matan Torah, there wasn't this uniqueness of the Gashmistic things to be able to separate good from bad. It didn't exist. Torah is Eitz Chayimi and Eitz Adas. So after Matan Torah come, yes, they kept the Torah, but it's not like in our well level of Torah that the Kedusha remains, and we separate good from bad. They did not have the Avedis HaBirurim of separating good from bad. That happened in Matan Torah. And therefore, even in the simple things of Torah, if you think about it, Dalta Rebbe also says this, Matan Torah is simple things. The great revelation of Matan Torah says, don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't covet, don't steal, kidnapping, yeah? The answer that Rebbe is explaining over here, that level of Kedusha permeated even the lowest of things. That Leisitzach means, Matan Torah accomplished, you will not kill Kedusha and then you have to be violent. That's the accomplishment of Matan Torah, separate good from bad. Before Matan Torah, it didn't exist. Gashmis didn't become holy. They didn't accomplish this tremendous kill. It just didn't happen.
Brought heaven down to earth.
And brought heaven up and earth up to heaven. Both.
Could you explain to me what is the difference between not to murder before Matan Torah in a very simple language?
In simple English, the act of killing is the same, before and after.
Right.
Here it means don't kill Kedusha and don't kill Kedusha in the way that you're making it dead and giving over that life to evil. Right.